Morning YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing my first attempt at making fermented plant juice. Fermented plant juice is a big part of Korean natural farming, and you can find out more about it, do a YouTube search or read some of the books. But anyway, this morning I've got a whole lot of this sweet potato vine that's growing out of my beds and into the grass in my front yard here, and I want to make my yard look nice, and I also want to make nice plants, so I'm going to kill two birds with one stone here and use those trimmings. Basically, you want to take the fast growing tips. I've already trimmed a lot of these off. I'll show you where I have them in the house. And you take the fast growing tips, you trim them up, put them in a crock with sugar, and the sugar extracts the juice. Here's what I got. Sugar extracts the juice out of the fast growing tips of these plants, and it creates this really nice fertilizer. You can use sweet potato, you can use bananas, anything that grows really fast. And you also want to make sure you're using raw sugar. So this is, let's see what it looks like when I mix it together. So this is just a crock, literally a crock from my crock pot. I just pulled the thing out. I'm going to use that. These are my sweet potato tips. I have several types. There's a purple stem, white stem. And then here's another leaf growth. The leaf pattern, a little bit different. All different types. This is the dark variety. This is a white potato. This, I think, is another white potato. But they say you want to use one type of plant at a time. You don't want to mix 20 different fast-growing plants all into one. They say to make separate ones. So what I'm doing now is just cutting this into pieces, putting it in the crock. And then as I go, I'm just going to add sugar. And I'm going to keep going like that. Once I'm finished, once I have this really full, I'm going to pack it down. I have this mason jar full of water. I'm just going to sit that on top to hold it down. And over time, it's going to start pushing out the liquid, and the liquid is what I'm going to store in another mason jar to be used later for other aspects of the Korean natural farming methods. So stay tuned for that. All right, so here's what I got finished up, cutting everything up. And you can see it's already starting to wilt. It looks kind of like, if you ever made like a wilted kale salad where you mix the kale leaves with salt. It's kind of the same thing. It looks kind of bruised and wilted. You can see there's liquid. Everything looks wet. And yeah, the idea is that the sugar puts an osmotic pressure on the cells of the leaves and the stems, and it starts to suck the liquid out, suck the juice out, and that's what we want. So it's a good thing. I'm holding it down. I filled this crock a little higher than I meant to, so I'm not sure if that matters. I don't know if I'm supposed to cover it. I need to go look that back up, if I need to cover it or whatever. I think I'm going to keep it. I think I'm going to bring it inside, and hopefully we don't come up with a big ant problem. But anyway, that's where we are now. It's only been a couple hours, but this material's already gone down. It was pretty much full to the top, and it's gone down, you know, about that much already in a couple hours. And looking at it, it's looking wet. I think I'm going to put a little more sugar on top. I think it's probably could use some more. So I'm glad I checked on it. Let me just top it off. And we'll see how much more juice we get out of it. But that's a good sign. That what I was reading earlier was that you want it should within 24 hours it should settle to like 2/3 of where it was when you started or something. So it's pretty cool. Only in a couple hours it's already done that. Part of it might be the weight, but when I first put the weight on, I couldn't smash it down any further. It was packed. So it's definitely softening up and moving. Over 24 hours, and see where we're at now. You can see the material's gone way down. It was packed at the top. Now it's gone down that far, probably 2 inches or so. If I press this down, you can see there's all kinds of juice in there. You can press it down and it bubbles a little bit. See all that in there? So, it seems like it's working. I'm gonna let it go for another few days. It's here in Southwest Florida, it's still pretty warm. It's mid-October, but we're still in the upper 80s to 90s. So I know that this happens a lot faster when it's warm. If you're in a colder climate, this might take, several more days. But from what I've been reading, it looks like in my area, probably 2 or 3 days is enough, and then I can separate the juice and put it in a jar for later use. All right, here we are 3 days later, 3 days after I started this. All kinds of juice. And I think we're ready to strain it out and put it in a jar for later. Alright, so following up with the sweet potato fermented plant juice. I've got all the material in here. I took the jar that was weighing it down, that was full of water, emptied that out. I've got a little funnel sitting here. And basically what I'm going to do now is strain it out. So I'm going to go, I've got a little strainer and a bowl here. I'm going to start with that and then pour it into the jar, and then I'll have it to use for later. Alright, so clearly I don't need that big of a jar. I didn't get as much material as I was thinking I would, but it's a start. I'll put that in a smaller jar and I'll store it for later. So that's my video. That's how to make fermented plant juice using sweet potato tips. The remaining material that's in here, I could probably squeeze it out a little better and get a little more juice out of it. But I'm thinking I'm going to add this to compost or something else and just let it continue its life. Stay tuned for more. Alright, so I just transferred my sweet potato FPJ into a smaller bottle. It didn't produce as much as I thought I was going to do. Actually, if you compare it to the banana flour, it produced about half as much. And you can see the difference. The one on the left is the sweet potato, and this is the banana flour that I made at the same time. This one's way goopier and thicker. This one's a lot thinner and more like a dirty river water or something like that. But anyway, I've got these both labeled FPJ, what the ingredient is, and then the date. And I'm going to put my paper towel lid on top of each one, just like so. Metal ring so they can breathe, and I'm going to store them probably here in the garage where they're out of the light. They're in a relatively cool spot. And stay tuned for more videos where I use the FPJ to make IMO 3, which will be the next step that I'm working on right now. I've got my IMO2 video coming out soon, so stay tuned.